Hello and welcome everyone. It's Thursday, which means it's time for Tier 1 action here at MRL. It's round 2, which means it's Bahrain, and joining me, as always, is Striff. Striff, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very, very good, Unicorn. We've had a lot of intense racing here around Bahrain this week. It is the 4th out of 5 races here. We've got APAC still to come on Sunday, but this is Tier 1 action. Now, Tier 2 action saw us in qualifying with a gap less than 9 tenths from first all the way to 20th. I think we're going to see something a little bit tighter here in Tier 1, and I am nervous.
Yeah, Tier 1, very, very fast grid. Let's just have a quick look at the track that we're going to. It's Bahrain, obviously. And that means we've got 15 turns, and some of them are pretty tricky to get the traction out of. And, well, a mistake here can cost you big time. A lot of runoff, though, so not easy to bring out a safety car. And then looking at the standings we've got Microlander currently leading after last week's win. Shenjay in P2, Valu in P3, Brainstew P4, Bottas Gang in P5, ZZ9 in 6th, Domi in 7th, Ace Ritchie in 8th, Yoda in 9th, Freeware in 10th, Lil Blowtail in 11th, Brownie in 12th, Dougie Falcon, Larson, Dason, Fraser, Alex Biddo, Sindaku, Tim, and Vexit. And with all that being said, we should just be ready, I think, to get ourselves underway. It is just about time. So fingers crossed, everyone is in and ready. It looks like we have 19 drivers for tonight's race.
Well, I think one driver may have not shown up last minute here out of the McLaren squad. I believe it's Dougie Falcons. And I think we might have a replacement. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, so unfortunately, the McLarens are going to be a man down today. Dougie has not shown up, it would seem. So something has happened there, maybe a communication error or something happening. But we are going to be going into Bahrain here, as I do believe we have got a reserve in for McLaren. But reserves, they're going to be scoring points for a team not McLaren. That will be the Pirates team, which has been collecting some points. And they will be fighting to see how many points they can take away from those top 10 constructors throughout the Misfits Season 4. It's quite a fun dynamic. I think everybody's kind of enjoying it so far. I know some idiot is enjoying it. He was one of those Pirates the other night in the Americas division. But 19 out of the 20 full-time roster drivers here this evening. And it will be another driver that goes by the name of Richie on the grid with us this time around. So we've got 2 Richies to call today. One in McLaren that is a full-time driver there. And we've got a reserve named Richie as well. So 2 Richies over at McLaren.
Yeah, and those pirates, I think it's quite interesting for the results as well. Who can be the best pirate over the course of the season, as we have loaded in to Bahrain, and to no surprise, it does look like it is indeed dry, being in the middle of the desert. I don't think we'd expect anything less, Striff.
Well, there's been reports of rain in the desert recently, as far as in Abu Dhabi, I'll say. Just in my racing experience, I mentioned it earlier this week, but no rain coming down here. Dry running for all of these racers, as I'm sure they were expecting, and it is going to be a full grid 20 drivers value. Ace Ritchie, full-time driver for McLaren there, second on the timing tower, as it's going to be one of the racing points to get out early here. I believe it's Vexit. And we've got Sindako in the other racing point, as well as Larson, Domi, Tim, Fraser, Microlander, Freeware, Dason, ZZ9 on this grid, as well as the reserve Ritchie in the other McLaren. We got 2 Richies in McLaren. Brownie over there at Williams. Shenjay and AlphaTauri. Yoda in the other Williams. We've got Biddo back on the grid today in the Mercedes with Vexit on board with him right now in 18th on the timing tower. He'll be the first person to hopefully jump ahead with the time here in this 18-minute session. Blottel, 19th position there in the Mercedes, and Brainstew in that Alfa Romeo as well here on the grid today. One thing to talk about, Larson, a driver that we did not get to watch too much of last week, Unicorn. He had a very early retirement coming out of the 11-12 chicane in Albert Park. We'll have to see what he's able to do here around Sakir.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing here around Bahrain is that you've got the tyres, and the softs really do not last long compared to the other two compounds, even more so than usual, so those outside the top 10 in qualifying really have a good chance in the race itself, provided that everyone in the top 10 is indeed on softs, as Vexit comes towards the final two corners to start what will be the first flying lap of the session in the Racing Point. Here he goes, hammering down, DRS enabled as he flies across the start-finish line to start his lap. You see everyone else there backing up to prep for their flying runs, but it's down into turn 1 for the Racing Point. Nice and neat, coming through turn 2, losing a little bit of traction. It's actually here the rear wheel's just spinning just a tiny bit, but he manages to control it, makes it all the way down to turn 4 again. A very easy place to spin it if you're not keeping on your toes. Now into sector 2, and I've had a few drivers say that these corners here, Striff, are a little bit misleading. It can be some of the hardest on the track, but it's going to be down into the tight right-hander of turn 8. Flying back round into 9, and then another tight. This time it's left-hander through turn 10. Again, DRS enabled for the second time around the lap, as Vexit here comes down into 11, using all of the outside curb on entry and a little bit of it on exit as well. You don't want to clip the curb on the inside coming into 13, but he's made it through very nicely, and it looks like his teammate in Sindaku there is going to give him a little bit of a slipstream down into the final two corners. Pulls away just before the braking zone. Very nicely done from the Racing Point squad. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Vexit return the favour as he enables DRS and comes across the line to open up with a 125 flat here in Bahrain.
Well, that's a great banker to get across the board here. Bottas gang in the Ferrari, a 124.668. He will cross into provisional pole. Domi in the other Ferrari right behind him. The Scuderia coming through strong here. The AlphaTauri of Shenji splits them up. He's into second position, a 124.806. Dason, a 125 flat, just a hundredth of a second behind, or sorry, ahead of Vexit. Microlander, P4. Microlander collecting a win here in Tier 1 last weekend. So I imagine he will be quite keen to carry through on that. Now, we were talking really quick. You mentioned turns 5, 6, and 7, how the drivers have said they're not as easy as they look, and we've seen that through this week, not only in qualifying, but we've seen it in the race as well. I think back to Cactus on the opening lap of Tier 3 action. We saw him come through with a terminal retirement out of turn 6. So depending on how you go through those turns, things can go quite poorly, especially on the exit coming into that turn 8. You can definitely find yourself at a loss. Sindako right now, we saw the other Racing Point last time around come through. 15 drivers with time set now. It's crazy. These times already coming out of this grid. Sindako jumps in with another 25 flat here. We take at the gap right now. Take a look at the gap right now. From first position, ladies and gentlemen, all the way down to 16th right now on the banker laps, it is less than a second. 4 drivers yet to set times here. We're getting a little bit of a tip-off that Larsen in that Haas has switched inputs. So he's gone from pad to wheel. We may not see him in full form today, but he is here and he is driving, and that's what we love to see regardless. Brownie, Unicorn in the Williams, he's coming through Sector 3 right now.
Yeah, one of the only drivers yet to set a lap time. I'll have to see where he jumps in, and the top fight is already, in particular, very tight. The first, 5 drivers realistically are looking to be within 1/10 of each other. Brownie hops into P12, and he is just 0.04 of a second behind Domi, so very, very close right now between all of these drivers, and there's still a couple left to set lap times, but this is just the banker laps. Like you said, I'm sure we're going to see faster times than this come the end of the session, especially when that track gets to its most optimum, as I think most people now are either on in-laps or out-laps. No one flying right now, but Fraser in the Renault looking like he's about to start one here as he comes out of the final corner.
These times, we're only a third of the way through this qualifying session. The 24s are here in full force as the only drivers outside of the 24s right now are 13 down through 18. And on these bankers, everybody's going to be looking to improve. Everybody coming through on the softs. Fraser's doing something differently here. It's, as you said, the Renault on these mediums. He's coming into turn 4 here. A little bit of a lockup on the front right. Coming out in 4th, powering down, utilizing a lot of that exit curbing through into 6 now. Utilizing more curb on the exit out of 7. Doesn't take too much of that outside. Using a little bit of the entry curb through into 8 now and that inside.
He's locked up a couple of times, I've noticed, coming through this lap, and again now coming into turn 10. And if this continues into the race, Fraser might have a bit of a problem here with tyre wear. Sometimes the game does like to show lockups to the spectators when it doesn't put a huge slide. He manages to catch it, but that could have gone very nastily for him as he comes now into turn 13. But if these lockups persist, the tyre wear around here, mediums or not, isn't going to be ideal for him. And these mediums, they can do a pretty strong stint if you need them to. A little bit more than the game recommends that they can handle. But there it is, a big slide coming out of the final turn. No damage on the Renault, so he'll just be able to just pull it straight into the pits. No harm done, but, well, it's going to be a knock to his confidence. And a knock because he won't be able to set a banker lap right now.
Larsen in the Haas right now. He's flying. He's coming out of turn 10. A little bit of a loss of traction on the exit up through 7 now. On the gears into 8th as he comes into the 11th turn.
Very wide on exit as well. But he's made it through 12 and now 13. And again, the Haas continuing, but that's an invalidation just stepping to the left of that white line on the edge of the track. So he joins Fraser and the only person yet to have set a lap time.
Trying to find a driver who's on a serious flyer right now. Yoda has just begun a flyer. I also saw Bottas gang on the move in the Ferrari. He's just coming through 9 and 10.
Just ahead of him as well, I think, is Shenjie flying in the AlphaTauri, currently sitting in P8. And while 124.8 pole, or provisional pole right now, is at 124.6. So really, not a lot in it at all. And, well, a fastest sector too. It's going to give Shenjie enough to put him on pole, provided he rounds this lap out. But then again, I would expect to see similar improvements across the grid as people start pushing a little bit harder. They've got those banker laps in, using all of the outside curb, DRS as well. And it's P2 just behind his teammate for now, 124.6. Bottas came into the pits, interestingly enough.
Yoda on the move, coming out of turn 11. He's in the Williams. Currently leading his teammate Brownie. Brownie's on an outlap right now. And not only is he on an outlap, Unicorn, but we've seen this happen with Brownie before when he was at Ferrari. Looks like there's a little bit of a communication error there between the Williams squad. Gearing up to give Brownie a proper tow, maybe. Right down into turn 1. Yeah, here we go. Rear wing wide open on both cars now. Yoda's going to cross the line. And he's actually in tow mode. Not in a set lap mode at the moment. It looks like he might have just aborted. So Brownie's going to get that slingshot into turn 1. Let's ride along with him now. That yellow T-cam on the top.
Yeah, not quite sure why Yoda just didn't set that lap there. Maybe, you know, ditched it early on, but kept going just so he could pull out in front of Brownie so that he could get that tow. And Brownie, well, he's found time already through sector 1. And, you know, you've got to put a little bit of that down to that team dynamic we've seen over at Williams. We saw it earlier from the racing points as well. And it looks like the two Alfa Romeos might be doing it into turn 1 too. Brownie, a little bit of a lock-up, missing the apex just slightly through turn 10. But it shouldn't impact him too badly. He just, you know, wants to find a few more positions. He's outside the top 10 at the moment, but said it earlier, not necessarily the worst place to be sitting in Bahrain if you can get an alternative tyre strategy to work for you. He's found an extra half a tenth or so to bring his total time found to just over 1/10. And this could see him jump into the low parts of the top 10, but a kick out from the rear through the final corner isn't going to aid his charge, but it's still going to be an improvement. 10th place it is for the Williams, just 1/1000th of a second ahead of Dayson.
Value in the Red Bull, 124.432. That very nice provisional pole time from him. That puts him just shy of 2/10 ahead of the next closest driver in freeware. Alejandro Bito comes across the line in third in the Merc. It's a 124.638. He's actually nailed the same time as Shenjie onto that board. So they are locked in between Bito and Shenjie there. 124.638 by the pair of them.
Yeah,
Ace Richie coming through, and he jumps ahead, and Brain Stew right behind them comes through into the second row. So there's a bit of a shakedown. So Value, Brain Stew, Freeware, Ace Richie, Bito, your top 5 right now. The gap between them, well, the gap between them, Unicorn, is 2/10.
Yeah, the time's starting to crumble, and the two Ferraris gearing up for laps at the same time, so I don't think we're going to see a tow from either of them here. But enough space between them so that neither will hold the other up, but maybe no team dynamics coming out of the Scuderia at the moment. But Sindako as well, he hopped in with a 124.7 to put himself just behind his teammate. And there are some super tight gaps on this grid already. Domi will be looking to jump further up the grid and will make some of those gaps just that little bit tighter ever still, as it looks like one of the Haas might have had a problem. It's Tim in the gravel trap. And not quite sure what's happened to the Haas. It looks like he might have been on an in-lap, but well, not going to be filling him with confidence coming into the race. We are in the final 5 minutes of qualifying, as Domi has found time in the opening section of his lap.
Oh, he's dragging along his teammate right now. Not too far behind him, Bottas gang is on a run as well. And both Ferraris are running into turn 11. And we'll see if they're able to come through here with a solid time to improve on those 124s. I say 124s, but realistically 16 drivers on this grid have 124s right now. The only difference is tenths.
Yeah, and speaking of tenths, Domi looks like he's found some. Well, Bottas gang, his teammate, already sitting in 7th quite comfortably, and I imagine Domi, well, he's going to be happy with a P2, but he instantly gets knocked down by his teammate. Got a 2-3 right now.
Are going to be happy with that, though, I think. 100th of a second separating the two Scuderia Ferrari drivers right now, and they're just about 600ths shy of value. What a qualifying run out of them, back-to-back, slamming that gauntlet down on that top 3.
Yeah, again, another really tight gap. Domi, well, he'll be happy that he's in P3, but not by the margin he's been beaten by his teammate. Just 100th of a second separates the two of them. Larsen comes into the pits, not happy with what he's been able to produce. We'll go on board with Microlander, who's about to start a flyer in the Red Bull.
Microlander wanting to really come through with the momentum coming out of round 1 there with the race win.
Yeah, right now sitting P16, not quite where you'd want to start, but you know, he might find this. I don't actually know if he's pushing this lap. His throttle inputs, he's not revving out the throttle as you would normally see, unless this is some sort of gearbox glitch. It doesn't look like his throttle inputs are actually lowering that much, as he almost gets held up by Brownie, who darts off the track to get out of the way.
Yeah, Brownie might have been asking someone there if he was on a flyer.
I don't know if Microlander is just gearing up to give Valu a tow here. But
well, from the reaction of Mr. Jake Design in the chat, I don't think he was, because Jake's quite an element there at Red Bull.
Well, it's not far off his previous best time, so it does look like he was pushing, and this gearbox sound may be another sort of gearbox glitch, but Microlander will come around the final 2 corners and invalidates as well, and he's going to pull into the pits. It won't be a tow for Valu on his final lap.
One of the Ferraris. That's Domi. He's retired in the pit lane. He's not going to be looking for any kind of improvement. Yoda's about to cross the line. Toe action coming out of the Williams now. It looks like he's giving Brownie another drag down the straight. Mercedes off to the inside, pulled off there. I think it's Blutzel.
Yeah, he's just finished a 124.4. He'll be very happy with that. Currently slotted him onto the front row. His teammate, Alex Biddo, will be looking to try and knock him off of that front row. If he can climb from 8th all the way up into provisional pole. Valu as well, he's flying. So there's still a lot of competitive drivers in this qualifying session yet to have set their final lap times. As Alex just rockets down towards turn 11. Again, you can just see everyone putting as many wheels as far to the right as possible coming into there. He's found 2/10 so far. This could be a very, very strong lap from the Spaniard.
If he finds more time in this lap, not only could it be a major improvement, it could be pole position, given the fact that he is currently only 2:05 off that front spot. The Mercedes coming out of turn 15. The Spaniard, what's he going to do when he crosses the line? Is it going to be enough? There it is. Alejandro takes pole position in Bahrain, but qualifying is not done. There is a lot of drivers pushing to put extra time onto that board. They want to get those laps through. The guy he just dethroned, Valu, coming out of 15 now. What's it going to be for the Finn driver? Does he improve? There's nothing on my board just yet. I don't think he caught the flag. I think he's still running. He might look for an improvement here, but he's dropped the energy deployment. So that will not be an improvement for Valu. Who else can improve? Blutzel. He will not be able to improve. Brainstew is on the move. Freeware is on the move. Richie out of 15 now to the line. He's looking for a good chunk of improvement here. Is it good enough for pole? It is. The McLaren, the Dutchman, on pole position here in Tier 1 so far. Does anybody have an answer for this? Brainstew coming out of turn 10. Freeware right now. He's just coming through turn 12. Shenjay, where's he? He's coming out of turn 14, 15. He's in the AlphaTauri. Can Shenjay do something about Richie? To the line, he goes 5th quickest here. Will his teammate, who's outqualified him previously in Season 3, Freeware, will he be able to do something about this? Out of turn 15 now, the other AlphaTauri coming to the line to take the flag. It's P2. He's tight, but it wasn't right there. He was 200ths off of Richie, and that is a very, very tight front row.
I'm still trying to work out what happened with Valu's lap. I'm wondering whether he set an almost identical lap time. That's why we didn't see any change. If so, very, very consistent on the Red Bull driver.
It might have been a dead set the same lap time, the way it had come across the timing tower. I think it was just the exact same lap he had put down the first time. We saw a plus negative sign come across the sector readout, and that normally means he just hit a dead ringer, and that's very impressive, extremely impressive. Although it wasn't an improvement, to nail the same time precisely is massive. But ladies and gentlemen, it is the McLarens who have won out the qualifying, as it is Richie on pole position, as Freeware will collect second in this one, with Biddo in the Mercedes rounding out the top 3. The gap right now from 1st to 5th is less than a 10th. The gap from 1st down to 18th position is less than 8.5 tenths. It is tight. This is a DRS centered circuit. The gap from 1st all the way down to 17th position is half a second. Welcome to Misfits Racing League Tier 1, ladies and gentlemen. Unicorn, take us through it.
Yeah, well, Ace Richie, like you said, picking up pole by just 200ths of a second ahead of Freeware in the AlphaTauri. Alex Biddo starts on the second row alongside Valu in the Red Bull. Alex's teammate Lil Blotel starts P5, Shenjay in P6. ZZ9 starts 7th next to Bottas Gang in the Ferrari. His teammate Domi starts right behind him in the other Ferrari, and Brainstew rounds out the top 10. Then we have Vexit, Sindaku, Tim, Dason, Brownie, Yoda, Microlander, Fraser, Richie, and Larson rounds out all of the drivers for qualifying. So put your predictions in chat. Who is going to stand on the top spot of that podium? I would expect to see, again, no softs outside of the top 10 on this starting grid. But tyre strategy here is, well, absolutely critical, Striff, and safety cars as well. We saw a pretty major shake-up yesterday in Tier 2 with a late safety car. The same could happen here.
Oh, if we had a safety car come out late the way we did in Tier 2, that would really throw a curveball at these drivers. Of course, as we jump into this 50% distance race, welcome to everybody tuning in. This is Misfits Racing League Tier 1. My name is Striffium, hailing from Canada. Joining me and doing the broadcast on his end, Unicorn, thanks for that. Big shout out, by the way, before we jump into this race, to the Misfits Racing League partners, and that is right now Next Level Racing. Check them out, guys. They are a fantastic manufacturer of some great, affordable, and quality racing rigs. So check out their website today, exclamation NLR in the chat. Greatly appreciate all the support, guys. Now, the tire strategies, we're going to get the first look at these strategies right now as the clock ticks down to 0. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more softs than hard compound tires, even with those drivers outside of the top 10. We take a look at the tires right now. Well, I'm going to eat my words. So it is split once again. 4 drivers only on the mediums. 4 drivers only on the mediums. The rest on hards, the top 10 on softs. And that presents a unique strategy in itself. Of course, when all of these drivers are as tight as they are in pace, that means that the tire wear and things like this, the strategies really do come into play, especially on a circuit like Bahrain, where you've got all these different DRS straights. It is intense.
Yeah, and the key thing around here as well is those setups. You know, you can have a little bit more wing to give yourself some more downforce. And a few of these drivers, I was in a little bit of a discussion as to who was running what, and, well, less downforce because you go faster in those DRS straights, like you were saying, with or without the drag reduction system. But there's so many low traction zones where it can be easy to just spin your car if you're not being careful. So this track really is a balance of getting everything just right, and it provides for some absolutely awesome racing, as we're about to see once this formation lap comes to a conclusion. Again, it's Ace Ritchie leading the charge in the McLaren here, and he's really giving it some on this outlap, but Freeway sticking to him. And there's the in-game predicted pit stop strategy. It's suggesting 2 stops from the softs. I expect the soft runners will be trying to go for at least a soft hard 1 stop, if not a soft medium, if they really want to push their luck. Everyone else outside the top 10 obviously starting on hards or mediums, as the leaders form up on the grid, and we'll just have to wait for everyone else to pick up their positions.
I am nervous. This race start is crucial. Absolutely crucial for a lot of these drivers, as Larsen, now the final driver on this grid, takes his position. We wait for the lights now, as it is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Bahrain. The drivers are away. Ritchie has a good jump off the line. So does Freeware. Freeware's had an amazing jump off the line. He's ahead of Ritchie already. Clear through into turn 1. Here comes Biddo on the inside. He's looking at the McLaren. Does he have enough space? Ooh, Ritchie with a great exit on Freeware coming out of turn 2 has taken back the lead of things.
Shenjay.
Oh, this is crazy racing. Valley right now on the inside of Biddo into turn 4, and there's been a safety car deployment.
Well, Brain Stew, not quite sure how he fell 10 places down to 20th, but Shenjay there got caught up and pinged around like a ping pong ball. He was super unfortunate. He got caught coming in to turn 3 with the 2 Ferraris, and then collected someone else as people are jostling for position and trying to put as many cars into the same turn, and it was just a super unfortunate sequence of events, and I think that's what's cost Brain Stew here, as he is now, you know, way down in 19th place. I don't know if Vexit has had a disconnection as well, but he's dropped 9 places at the start of this as well, and Shenji, you can see that down 8 on the start, but the top 5 have all retained positions on lap 1 strip, and that's not something we're all too familiar with seeing.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Vexit out of that car. I'm hoping it's just a disconnect. Sidemax Motorworks would not be too thrilled about having a driver break the rules, I can tell you that. Valley right now doing a good job in 4th position. sticking where he left things. No debris on that racing point, no damage. Brain Stew right now, he's dropped 9 positions. Vexit's dropped 9 positions. We'll see what happens on the safety car restart. Doesn't look like too many drivers have opted to come into the pit lane here as Dougie Falcons has joined the session, except he's far too late for this encounter.
And Bottas gang is into the pit lane, and he doesn't have damage. Or well, maybe he does, it's just not visual. He's getting a wing change, but it didn't look like he was missing any of his end plates or anything, unless there was a small scuff on the front, and that can cause a little bit of traction. As you can see there, both Alfa Romeos, both Williams in as well. So that's double stacking and going to cost them even more time in the pit lane. But obviously a safety car now. We've seen a few more position changes as the timing tower gets a little bit confused. So fingers crossed we can see what has happened. It does look like the top 5 is still the same, with ZZ9, Domi and Sindaku being behind them, I think. But we'll just have to wait and see, as Vexit has reconnected.
Excellent stuff out of the SMM driver. Love to see that. Love to see that it wasn't a disconnect and it was just, or that it was just a disconnect. I know things can get heated in opening laps of races. Everybody has their eyes on those drivers. Everybody wanting to keep cool temperament. It's what you love to see. So good on him.
A few people saying in the chat, hard till the end. That would be very, very bold if these guys could take those hards to the end. It seems unlikely, but you know, I was saying before, the mediums can do a pretty strong stint. I don't think you'd get 7 laps out of a set of hards. But here we go. As the safety car will go around at least one more time. We've got Yoda a fair way down. But it's still Ace Ritchie in lead of this race. And you can see there, Bottas gang's gone on to some fresh softs. And he's obviously thinking that the mediums, well, they wouldn't, or the hard, sorry, wouldn't make it to the end of this race. So he's going to have to pit again anyway. So he's looking for a bit of extra pace to maybe try and get past these guys who have started on the harder compound of tyres, the hards, the mediums.
What a shake-up it was in that opening lap. You saw Freeware, an absolute rocket launch off the line. He took Ace Ritchie into turn 1. Ritchie with a good maneuver, however, getting him back through on the exit out of turn 2. Leading into turn 4, there was so much wheel-to-wheel intensity, and then that safety car came out neutralizing everything.
Yeah, and Ritchie, not only did he get back past Freeway, but he also defended from Biddo. You can see him late on the brakes into that first turn, and that really just stopped the Mercedes from having any answer. It looked like Ritchie might have just had a little bit of a slow start. It wasn't terrible by any means, but the two guys behind him really, really strong off of the line. As we come now through turn 10, and fingers crossed when we get to that sector 3 timing line, the safety car gets called in. It should do. Everyone's bunched up. Yoda has joined the rear of the pack.
Big shout out to Mr. XTXP for the $1 donation, giving Fraser some support. All the homies believe in you, Fraser. Thanks, XTP. XTP, as Zamis would call you.
There we are. There is the safety car in this lap message from race control. So we will be back to green flag racing in just a second. And well, we'll have to wait and see how Ritchie wants to play this. He needs a better start than he got before, as you make sure everyone gets some warmth into those tyres. It looks like he's going to prep himself to throttle down right on the exit of this corner, and there he goes. The McLaren has gone, and he's caught Freeware a little bit off guard. Not a lot you can do when someone throttles on the exit of a corner. It looks like further down, Domi might have an excellent run on ZZ9 down into turn 1. Lil Blotel as well, having a look up the inside on Value ahead, but no moves coming so far out of this. Maybe Vexit on Larsen. The racing point up the inside. Larsen falling down a couple of places. He loses out to Bottas Gang as well on those fresh softs. And now the Alfa Romeo of Dayson is going to have a look around the outside. You can see Bottas getting close to the rear of Vexit as well there. Dayson still holding around the outside of the Haas, and he makes the move despite being on the hard compound tyres. And now Shenje as well. Larsen really struggling, and it's a big slide from the Haas. Just about avoids any contact with any of the other drivers.
Keeping an eye on Domi right now. He's just sitting on the rear of ZZ9 still. ZZ9 on the rear of Bloodsell. There's a really tight train with that. I'll talk to you about Bottas Gang. He's on these super fresh softs, the freshest softs on this grid. He's sitting on Vexit. Vexit, he started this race in 11th position. Had a major issue. Unfortunately had a disconnection error. Comes back into the session. Here he is on lap 4, running in 11th place with a Ferrari chasing him down. I'd have to say the turn of events have been up and down for him, but he's in a solid spot. He's on these 3-lap-old hards, but here goes Bottas Gang. Outside of the 13th turn now, hammering down. You can see a little bit of traction differential just up ahead. It's a Ferrari and a Renault, exchanging. That's Domi and ZZ9. Domi finally getting that move done. Will Bottas have something for Vexit down this pit straight? Yes, he will, and that's going to be a position taken for the Ferrari. Meanwhile, if we jump back to ZZ9, he's still within 2/10 of Domi. He's trying to get a switchback done while Dayson and Shenje are wheel-to-wheel into turn 1.
Yeah, very, very strong start or restart from the Scuderia. They're both gaining a place or two in Bottas Gang's mind, but Sindaku on the mediums right now. I want to see where this sort of strategy ends him up. On these mediums, behind him, 2 hard runners, a soft runner, another hard runner. The closest medium runner is Shenje in P13, so Sindaku here, he could be left in a little bit of a run of his own, and if it works out for him, he could be on for a very, very good race finish. Obviously, Racing Point already taken 1 win here this week in Tier 3. This Bottas Gang might be looking for yet another position. It's another Ferrari versus Renault situation. This time it's Fraser in the crosshairs though, and you can just see the traction that these softs have got. They may not last particularly long, but they really do have astonishing pace in comparison to the other tyres. And there it is, the traction out of turn 13, and it just allows the Ferrari to just breeze past the Renault. And there's not a lot Fraser can do about that. And Fraser, interestingly enough, has picked up a penalty already in this race. And it's not looking like it's been going too well for him.
5 seconds for Fraser on that Renault. For those that are wondering, it is a speeding in the pit lane penalty. Brownie right now, wheel-to-wheel with Dayson on a drag race charge into turn 1, the Williams. He gets the move for 14th position done, giving himself a little bit of separation from that charging Haas of Tim. Meanwhile, Brainstew and Richie, not Ace Richie, the other Richie who's in a reserve capacity over at McLaren, has been overtaken by Brainstew, it would seem, coming out of turn 3. Yellow flag through turn 1 here. It's Larsen, and he's had an unfortunate spin, it would seem. He's getting used to the wheel input right now, trying to get himself back up to speed. Bottas Gang within half a second of Microlander, and I think that Red Bull might have a problem, and it's all red in his rearview mirrors.
Yeah, now Shenje as well, he's pretty close to the rear of Dayson here. Larsen seems to just really be struggling right now in that Haas. Further up, Bottas Gang again. This time it's Microlander, similar place to where he tried to take Fraser last lap, but he had to get it down the straight after turn 13. This time he's through just before 12, and well, the soft tyres on this restart strip are really, really working out for the prancing horse right now. Just behind Shenje on Vexit, he'll be looking for the move, I imagine, down into turn 1 if he gets the run he needs. He's got mediums compared to the hards ahead, but it looks like he might have actually struggled for grip out of the final corner.
Well, there's a couple of drivers right now presenting unique situations. Bottas Gang is effectively a kink in the chain right now between 9th and 8th, and he's just gotten into that 9th position on Microlander. We'll see if he's able to break down that gap and bring this train with him. Fraser's just dancing in and around that out of DRS range, and you can see now Vexit with the run coming out of turn 3. A lot of speed with that DRS, and I don't believe Fraser had it. You see Vexit, he gets that move through on the inside. Very neatly done from Vexit. He's back into 11th where he started.
Yeah, Fraser and Shenjie going side by side behind him. Fraser really trying to claw onto as many positions as he can, but the mediums on the AlphaTauri should be offering Shenjie a little bit of extra grip. And deep from Fraser into turn 10. It's going to allow the AlphaTauri straight past. And there's really, again, not a lot Fraser can do. He's going to try and hold it around the outside into 11, but again, the grip levels just aren't there on these tyres. At least not at this stage of the race.
Well, Vexit is loving this right now. Vexit wants them to keep fighting, but it's not actually costing them that much time to Vexit. They're still within half a second. Shenjie now has successfully, I would say, dispatched Fraser, but Fraser will have DRS on that AlphaTauri heading back down into turn 1. Alex Bido, out of the front runners here, has been the first to blink and come into a new set of rubber, and he's going to be coming into a set of hards.
Yeah, ZZ9's hopped in as well, as Fraser under threat from Brownie, and Shenjie has already caught up with Vexit.
Sorry to interrupt. Freeware was just alongside Ace coming into turn 4. These two are very tight right now. Ace Ritchie very low on battery. Freeware low on battery as well. Valu, meanwhile, has double what both of the two front runners have in energy deployment at his disposal. Blotel also a little bit higher end on the ERS here. So we'll see what he's able to do coming out of turn 10. DRS is in the equation, and it looks like we have another driver here outside of turn 3. That's Larsen once again. He is really struggling in the ass. I have to say, a tier 1 race, not the best proving ground for Wheel, but it is his only option. And as I said earlier in this broadcast, the attendance and the effort, that's what you love to see. Vexit right now, he's having a little bit of a battle. Shenjie, Vexit, Wheel coming through turn 11 and 12. 12 now. Shenjie was on the inside. Nothing as a result of having a little bit at the top. And there goes Larsen. Larsen's had an issue just coming towards turn 8, and that is going to spark a safety car. It is a virtual safety car, excuse me. So that is going to neutralize a little bit of the ongoing action on this grid.
Yeah, not only that, but it's just afforded these front runners a little bit, not a free pit stop, but it's going to benefit them. Interesting enough, Bottas Gang didn't take it up. I think that's because Domi actually is in the pits, his teammate. So Bottas Gang probably would have liked to have taken advantage of this VSC as well, but not able to as we go back to green flag racing. Bottas Gang now is going to have to really push on these next few laps as the front runners all come out of the pits on fresh hards, and you can see there 11th all the way through 19th now is fresh hards, a little bit spaced out. Domi is in the between the two Mercedes, a little bit of contact between him and Alex Bido as the Spaniard comes flying past the Ferrari out of turn 3, and he'll be happy he's got that move done. Domi meanwhile is sticking very close to the rear of him and will be looking for a way past as soon as he can, but now the Ferrari already maybe having a look around the outside of 10. Completely off the track, and there's contact, and an end plate has gone flying off of the Ferrari.
I don't know what to say about that. That was extremely questionable coming out of the Mercedes. Extraordinarily questionable coming out of the Mercedes. Alex Bido there is definitely going to be investigated, and I'll tell you this, I had a full-blown view of how that went down on my end. That was not good racing.
Well, meanwhile, Sindaku, no damage on his racing point, is going to take full advantage of Domi's recent incident. He hops into P16. The two Alfa Romeos as well. They look like they're about to go at it. It's Brainstew coming past Dayson down into turn 1. And, well, he had got that move, but he's lost it in the traction zone. Brainstew, no damage, hasn't come into contact with any other car, but a complete 360 for the Alfa Romeo.
Can confirm Domi missing a portion of his front right wing as a result of that bash out of the Mercedes there. Valu right now getting the move done on Freeware into 11th position, and this is not good for Freeware. Freeware was sticking with Ritchie in the front row. Now Valu is through. The gap right now between Valu and Ace Ritchie is 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that is what is effectively the battle for the podium places. Still only a couple of penalties having been picked up so far in this race, and well, we've seen it all throughout the week. It has been few and far between in terms of the track limits warnings, those pesky 3-second time penalties that drivers can pick up over the course of a race. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. In fact, it's far from it around Bahrain, where people are just trying to extend these track limits to their absolute maximum, as Vexit gets a little bit squirrely out of the final turn, and that can open him up to Brownie. Ellie Williams behind. You can see just the sheer pace coming out of Brownie's car. He is going to send it up the inside here very, very strongly. And, well, the Racing Point is trying to defend, but really not a lot he can do, as Brownie just comes flying past. And, well, Vexit's not going to be too happy with himself after that one.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Richie right now, the reserve Mercedes, driving for the Pirates constructors, as we call them, tight to the rear of Dason. Yoda on his rear as well. Yoda's on these mediums. So is that McLaren and Richie, and they've got the other Richie behind them in the McLaren on the fresh hards, 3.2 seconds behind. All of these drivers in the top 10 on these older tires. That VSC really presenting a unique opportunity for some of these racers to get in, get a fresh set of rubber. This race has been so dynamic. We've had the safety car, we've had the VSC now, we've had some drama, especially when you think about the Mercedes and Ferrari there. I mean, that's real life drama, let alone now we've got it in the virtual world. You know, you've got those two fighting at the front, now you've got them coming together on the circuit here of round 2. It's only round 2. So already some stories starting to unfold for us here. Meanwhile, Yoda sticking still quite well with Richie there, but of course Shenjie right now, less than half a second the gap between him and the Red Bull Microlander. Shenjie with a little bit of a slide coming out of 15, but he does have DRS and he does have a good chunk of battery. I think this is the move done for the medium runner here.
Yeah, looking very strong coming into turn 1, and, well, Microlander, he's going to play it smart. He's not going to contest that too much. He knows that it would just lose him more time than necessary. Meanwhile, Fraser and Dason are going side by side through the opening couple of turns, and Fraser looks like he might have P6, but Dason looking to come back, and Richie as well looking to come back on the pair of them. The McLaren has got past the Alfa Romeo. He's not going to find it past the runner. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, but it's not a safety car or anything, so they can still race. Richie does make it past Fraser. Dason is still behind, but Fraser trying to have a look around the McLaren. Slowed up a little bit, and now the Alfa Romeo is coming on the outside. Yoda's got an excellent review of this as well. But it is now Dason on the inside, and he has got that move done in through turn 9. And he holds it through turn 10 as well. But now DRS will come into the equation here. All 3 cars have got it. Dason has it on Richie, but obviously Richie being pretty far off the back of Vexit does not have it in the McLaren. But regardless, the positions stay pretty much all the same. Fraser's still under pressure from Yoda in the Williams, but still not able to find a way past. Brainshoe and Tim weaving around down into turn 11 as Bottas gang comes in to the pits, presumably for some medium compound tyres. And speaking of mediums, well, Yoda has finally utilised his to get the run out of the final corner that he needs to just take Fraser down into turn 1.
A little bit of a love tap there coming out of Fraser into the rear of Yoda, unsettling that Williams. He's going to have a run with DRS on the rear of that Williams coming down into turn 4, but Yoda, good traction, good exit coming through 2 and 3 there. Will hold on to 7th position right now, and this is a really good position for Yoda on these mediums, I have to say. They still have some life in them. He's within this train. He has a little bit of ability to catch up with Dason, hopefully. Fraser, not big into the fight with Yoda right now. He's got 8 seconds in penalties. His job is just to hold drivers up and try to maintain points for the Renault squad. Richie, however, is just sitting on his rear wing right now in that McLaren with 9-lap fresher tires.
Yeah, and these front runners, or what will be front runners after all of these pit windows have come to a close. How far down? We've just seen Bottas getting pit for fresh mediums. He's been thrown all the way into 17th place, but it is mediums versus hards, and right now he will certainly have the pace. And in about 6 or 7 laps time, he will really have the legs on the cars in front, but then the tables will turn pretty quickly as his tyres start to drop off before the hards and hit that cliff just a tiny bit earlier. There we go, Ace Ritchie. Down into turn 1. The McLaren looking at the inside of Fraser. Fraser, though, a little bit deeper and might be able to give him the inside line through turns 2, but it's not going to be. And the McLaren takes the Renault through turn 3.
Good defense by Fraser there. His job is to try and slow down the McLaren. Just slow him down. I mean, he doesn't realistically need to do that job, but he's on these 13-lap-old hards. He might as well try. And he doesn't have a teammate right now in the points, but ZZ9 is on 5-lap-old hards. It's a long race. We're just halfway through it now. Penalties can always come through.
And I think ZZ9 with the strategy will be in the points at the end of this race if everything goes to plan. It looks like right now he's sitting about 5th in terms of where these tyres should put him, as the 2 Ferraris are hunting down Alex Billow. This time it's Bottas gang having a look at the Spaniard coming down into turn 13. He has made it past. Alex looking for a switchback though, and he might have found it as he comes through 11, around 12, and well, that's an excellent bit of recovery driving to get that Mercedes back in front of the Ferrari. But Bottas gang with an excellent exit out of turn 13 is going to find the drive he needs to put himself back up into P15.
Very intense racing coming out of the back end of this field right now. Bottas gang on those mediums. Now Domi on the rear of Biddo, not too close. Biddo utilizing a lot of, well, he doesn't have a lot of battery right now, but he's utilizing that DRS to get a move back into the inside for turn 1 here. And this fighting is just going to cost everybody involved.
Yeah, these guys, especially Bottas going on these fresh mediums, really needs to just start to clear Alex and just go and attack ZZ9. But again, contact between the Mercedes, and this time it's a different Ferrari.
Yeah, I have to say Alex Biddo is not leaving these Ferraris a lot of space through turns right now. That was a really, really tough squeeze. Bottas gang took a penalty as a result. He had nowhere to go.
Fraser being passed by another one of the provisional front runners, Valu, who's currently trying to chase down Ace Ritchie for what will be the lead of this race after the current front runners come in for their scheduled pit stops. And Fraser's run very wide out of turn 13. That's going to lose him another place. That lets Freeware go past uncontested, and that could help him just gain a little bit of time on Valu ahead. So Freeware going to be very, very thankful for that mistake out of the Renault.
Yoda on the rear of Dayson, less than half a second, and of course they've got that train ahead of them because Ritchie, this McLaren right now, holding up this tiny train for his teammate of the day, and that is the other Ace Ritchie, of course. And Yoda with that DRS on Dayson, Dayson with the DRS on the McLaren ahead. Nothing's really moving except Ritchie in this equation, and he is less than 3/10 behind the Williams and Alfa Romeo, and it's his teammate holding them up.
Yeah, and, well, now that Ace Ritchie is on the rear of this train, is the other Ritchie just going to try and find a way to let him pass? I think they were communicating. It looked like they might have given each other a tow in qualifying. So maybe there is a little bit of team dynamics, despite the fact that there is that reserve here this evening. Here goes Ace Ritchie looking at the inside of Yoda down into turn 11. And it looks like the fresher tyres, despite being the harder compound, have provided him just a little bit more of what he needs through turns 11, 12 and 13. And the McLaren is now ahead, instantly breaks the tow coming out of turn 13 and stays in P7 for the time being.
This train is back in force as well. It's stretched itself out. Valu is in the equation. Freeware's on his rear with DRS. I don't think Valu has DRS on Yoda right now. He does not, but Yoda being on these older tires, he is going to be the bridge for value to Richie here.
Yeah, Microlander's catching Shenje as well as Richie, and Bottas gang is out. He has retired his car in the pit lane. It's Richie, has been let through by his team, and I believe, and now there are 2 cars in Richie and Yoda between Valu and what will be the race leader. As we've said after these pit stops, Domi and Bido still battling very, very hard. Very close racing coming out of these 2. Domi hasn't come in. He's still sporting that damage from earlier on. And he'll be mindful of attacking Alex Bido, but he will still be going at this Mercedes with all he's got.
Well, what I find ironic is that Domi has damage right now, and Bido's having issues keeping him at bay. He's on older tires. It's just, it's unique. We're going to say that. Unique. Stewards are going to have their hands full with Mercedes.
Meanwhile,
disappointed in that.
Flying down, and he will, like you said, have DRS. He's already using ERS. Yoda is having a go at Richie. That is for position, because those 2 are at the same stage of their races. Meanwhile, Ace Richie's already got past Dason ahead. Yoda and Richie very, very tight coming into turn 1. Valu goes up the inside of 1. Can he find Yoda as well? Maybe he'll be able to get him up the inside into turn 4 if he gets a good enough exit here. The McLaren looking to attack. You've got Freeware trying to find a way through as well. And, well, the AlphaTauri's gone up the inside. And Richie is just seeing Yoda just slip through his fingers. Any chance at a return from him? Domi has found a way past Alex Bido through the opening few corners. But it looks like the Spaniard will come back around the outside to turn 4. But it's not going to happen unless he can find a switchback up the inside. Coming out of the corner, but it's not to be at the moment. As they come in through Sector 2, and it's a spin for Alex Bido. He is down into P16 behind Larson, or Tim, sorry, in the other Haas.
Karma. Exit on the rear of Brownie right now. Oh, this train in front's really starting to tighten up. Ace Richie, 4.4 seconds the gap right now.
Brownie as well. He comes into the pits. It's now time to get off of these mediums. Shenjay's in as well. And Striff, I think it's soft to the end. These guys could absolutely fly through this grid if they've got this strategy right. Shenjay first to enter the pit box. Brownie going to follow him as well, as Valu and Yoda are going to go side by side down into turn 1. The Red Bull up the inside through turn 2. But I think Yoda might try and fend him off on the exit. But, well, the fresher tyres doing wonders. Yoda's will be pretty much done as Freeware follows through his fellow leader from what will be podium positions at the end of this race. Gotta wonder when the hard runners are going to come in as well. Microlander, Vexit, and Dason. They've all stayed out. You expect to see them come in at the end of this lap. So this grid is going to be massively reshuffled. Can Freeware do anything about this Red Bull? Obviously, sister teams. The AlphaTauri is still going to try and find a way past Valu for what is now P5, but more realistically, it's going to be P2. But all of this battling has cost them huge amounts of times to Ace Richie, who is now 2 seconds clear of them. But they're going to get rid of what aren't back markers, but people on different strategies. And, well, Microlander hops into the pit lane. Vexit follows him as well. And Dason stays out by the looks of it. Alfa Romeo trying something slightly different.
Valley right now is just, he just can't do, this gap right now between Bloodtail and Freeware is starting to slowly break down, and I'm not sure what's going to happen when that gap does break down. Sindako 2 seconds outside of Bloodtail. We've got ZZ9, he's 4 seconds outside of Sindako. No penalties in the top 10 right now, and that always presents unique situations. With the last phase of the race coming through. Some drivers might take some penalties. They might have be on the edge with those warnings. Tim right now, Domi wheel to wheel through turn 4. Domi with that front right end plate still missing. Tim is just going to make short work of him around the outside of turn 4.
Yeah, Domi looked like he might have got the move into P12, but like you said, just struggling through turn 4 to make it stick. Still the front runners trying to get past Dayson here, who will surely be into the pit lane at the end of this. Unless he's going to try and take those hards to the end, actually, Striff. I hadn't considered that. He didn't start this race on those hards.
Here goes Vexit around the outside of Microlander. Microlander wanted that inside line through 11. He switched back to it. There's a bit of wheel contact there as the front right of Microlander got caught in the rear of Vexit. Coming through turn 11, Microlander did a good job to really catch that. And Vexit's through into 10th, but we'll see if they continue to do the battle as Dayson now. He's blinked. He's gotten into the pit lane. He's getting off the hards. So that puts it Ace, Valu, Freeware, Blotel, and Sindako now your top 5. All on the 11-lap-old hard compound tires. ZZ9 behind them. What's the gap? Well, Shenjay right now, he's taking that 7th position from him. Along the outside, the AlphaTauri. Good job from him getting that move into 6th. Shenjay on these softs right now, 3.4 seconds the gap to the next nearest driver in Sindako. He's gonna have a lot of serious pace in those tires right now.
Yeah, Yoda's just picked up P13 from Dayson, who's just hopped out of the pit lane. But like you said, Shenjay, a real threat to the drivers ahead. It's 3 seconds now, and no penalties to speak of, so it's all based on track position. But with 8 laps to go, fresh sauce for Shenjay. They will make it to the end of this race comfortably. They'll be working for at least the first 5 laps in an ideal range. And you can see he is just crunching down the gap to Sindako ahead. And I wouldn't count him out of this race, even for a podium. As Dayson looks like he's trying to squeeze it up the inside of Yoda, who's being caught up a little bit by Domi and Tim battling ahead. The two guys on hard tyres now stand really no chance to the fresh sauce behind. Domi going a little bit wide. Yoda going to take full advantage of that, and it looks like Dayson is going to follow through. Now they follow the Haas, and well, it's going to be easy work for them, as they've just got a massive tyre advantage at this stage of the race.
Yoda, Dayson. Oh, that was a big snap to the inside from Dayson there. He looked at Yoda, but Yoda on the rear of Tim now. I mean, there wasn't much point for Dayson to really make the move there, but if he's able to get Tim, and it looks like he will here, he has a good shot at Yoda into turn 4. Along the inside now, the Alfa Romeo, ZZ9 and Brownie have exchanged. Brownie's into 7th position. Yoda is 9.1 seconds away from the points. He's in 11th with Dayson catching him. 9 seconds. That is what the Albanian driver needs to find in order to get the double points finish for the Williams squad. Brownie in 7th right now. He just wants to keep it clean, work his way through as best he can to get some points. He's in a good position right now, considering he's on these softs. He could net himself a P4 or a P5, depending on where Shenjay lands, and depending on whether or not he's actually able to catch Shenjay a little bit here.
Yeah, these soft runners, they're really just the end of this race. It's all dependent on how quick each and every one of them is on these tyres. Richie is going to have a look up the inside of Tim, and he's got the move done well before turn 11. A very nice move coming out of the McLaren. Shenjay, he's already picked off one of the hard runners. This time it's Sindaku, and now he's able to go and hunt down Lil Blotel in the Mercedes ahead. And then after that, it's his teammate Freeware, who's battling with Valu, and that time could cost Freeware to his teammate and Valu as well. So we'll have to see who ends up where at the end of this race. With that checkered flag is waved. Meanwhile, Microlander has caught up to ZZ9 in the Renault.
Yeah, this is big for the Red Bull here. Fresh softs, wheel to wheel coming into turn 4. ZZ9 holding it later on the brakes a bit, but Microlander, fresh rubber. Easy move for him. Easy move for him. Dayson, meanwhile, is still with Yoda. They're in the same section of circuit. Turn 4 right now. Dayson, less than a car length between him and Yoda as we come through 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, these two battling very closely, and well, I think this battling is meaning that it's super unlikely that they find points in this race. Obviously, a spin from one of the front runners could, net at least Yoda a singular point, but the battling nonetheless is probably a bit of fun for these two drivers. I bet they're having the time of their life. They've kept it very clean. It's been going on for multiple laps now, and well, the pressure has just been continuous from Dayson on the rear of Yoda, but Yoda just showing he's as cool as a cucumber, really not cracking under the pressure at all. Brainstew picks up a 3-second time penalty. He is down in 18th place though, so really just trying to push to salvage anything from this race, it would seem. Meanwhile, Freeware is still very, very close to the rear of Valu.
One driver to talk about is Vexit. He had a very shaky start to this. A very shaky start to this race. He started this race in 11th position. He's made up 3 positions here into this point. He's now in 8th. We saw him drop all the way back to 20th. He had a technical issue, saw him out of that race. He managed to get back into the race, came back after the safety car restart. He was in 11th. Now here we see him after 24 laps. He's in 8th. Fresh softs. He's in less than a second with Brownie ahead. Microlander on his rear. He's in a good fighting position here for some potential points, especially if he's able to keep with Brownie and they dispatch Sindako as a unit here. But here's the thing. Sindako and Vexit, they're teammates. So if Sindako is able to hold up Brownie, Vexit might be able to leap him.
Yeah, I was going to say that team dynamic, I would not be surprised at all if that was to come into play, and Vexit really showing that, you know, a race isn't over until a checker flag is waved. He's soldiered on, like you said, come back from a technical issue, and now fighting for some fairly serious points, especially at this early stage of the championship where, you know, nothing has been decided. Any one of these drivers could take away that World Drivers' Champion title at the end of this, as Shenjie has caught his next target. It's Lil Blotel falling victim to the Alpha Tauri. It's 4 seconds, the gap between Shenjie and his teammate now. As Brownie and Sindaku, they're going wheel to wheel through turns 1 and 2, and Brownie, well, he's made light work of the racing point, and now our team order is going to come into play for the racing points. Yes, they are.
Definitely. Yeah, it was a very clear liftoff there from Sindako, and he has one job now, and that is to hold down the fort from this charging bull of Microlander. ZZ9, 3.9 seconds in the rear now. He is the gatekeeper to the final points position. A slight tap out of Microlander. He nudges Sindako deep into... Oh my, there's been a massive contact here.
A safety car.
Contact. Microlander, he nudged Sindako into turn 8. Then he tried to take the inside. Sindako tried to correct the car, but Microlander was there. The racing point came across ahead of the Red Bull, straight into the wall, full-blown retirement.
Well,
and now we have a safety car here right near the end of this race, and I'll tell you something. The guys who are really, really in trouble here, I think just might be these soft runners. They just might be in trouble here. Oh, this is so intense. This is the second time in 2 races that we've had a late safety car. This one's even later than yesterday, George. This one's just... There's 4 laps left in this race.
Well, none of the front 3 have chosen to come into the pits, and it looks like it's everyone or no one, and no one hopping into that pit lane. So...
They're just gonna play it out. Does anybody gamble for tires here?
Well, Yoda's picked up a drive-through, so... He is not going to be happy. He is pretty much out of this race, so he's not going to be best pleased. But it looks like everyone is just going to stay out. It looks like the House of Tim. He's going to get off of his 15-lap-old hards, and, well, he's got no reason not to, really. So maybe with the penalties ahead of him, he might find it.
He might. Brainstew has the fastest lap right now. It's a 126.5. This is huge because it takes that extra point out of the top 10. It takes that point out of a constructor's hands. Although he may not get it in that 17th position, it does take that point out of someone's hands. Now, I don't think anybody in the top 15 here, except maybe Fraser, he's finally come in for some new tires, but I don't think anybody is going to really maybe undo what Brainstew did here. I don't know if there's going to be a very clear-cut opportunity to get set up and do it. But I'll say this, man. This is crazy racing. 16-lap-old hards for the top 3. That's Ace, Richie, Valu, Freeware, your top 3. Shenjie, the other AlphaTauri, 6-lap-old softs in 4th. Blotel, 16-lap-old hards in 5th. Then you can see Brownie, Vexit, Merklander. They're all on softs as well, 6, 7, and 8. ZZ9, 17 lap old hards, and Yoda there with the drive-through penalty. That is going to sting. That is going to sting.
Scriff, the chat's come up with a very, very important thing to note. These guys, they're still on fairly fresh softs. They're, you know, coming to sort of the middle of their lives, being that they were fresh onto the car, and, well, sitting on the AlphaTauri pit wall. What is the call? Is Freeware told? He's been battling Valu for, what is it now? Probably since they came into the pit lane for about 16 laps, if not more. And now his teammate in Shenjay, 6 lap old softs, which are now being preserved under safety car. They're now 7 laps old. Is Freeware going to be having to let Shenjay pass to go and attack for the win? What is the call out of those two?
This is such a strategy dynamic now. Tim, 13th position, fresh softs, no penalties right now. And I wonder where he's going to land. You know, we were talking about it a moment ago. The question marks popping up with this restart now are just massive. And I think we're going to get that restart here at the end of lap 27. So we are going to see 2 full laps of green flag running is my assumption. Brainstew has now retired the car and left. He's done with this for the round 2 action. He's got that fastest lap, and he'll hope that what he was able to do in that car will be enough, and they won't do any further running in the 1 Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, Dason's still on for points here. He may not have pitted for softs, but there's a couple of penalties ahead of him. Yoda with the drive-through, he will definitely get him, and he's been fighting with him for a while now, and well, Microlander as well. I think, if memory serves, that is just a 5-second penalty for the Red Bull. The other 2 penalties, Fraser and Domi, both 3 seconds. And here we go. Is the safety car going to wait for Alex Biddo to reform? No. Safety car is going to be coming in, and for the second time today, Ace Ritchie will be restarting this race. And Valo and Freeware are right behind him, as is, well, a very strong-looking Shenjay. He was catching them before. The safety car's done all the hard work for him. He just needs to get past now. He hasn't got long left until these tyres start to die a little bit on him, but there's only 2 laps to go.
Richie has put the foot down. He is gone. Valu did a very good job of trying to sniff out when he went, and he caught him quite well, I'd say. Shenjay, within half a second of his teammate. We'll see if team dynamics come into play here. Freeware might just let Shenjay through to go after these two. Brownie, Blotel. Ooh, it's tight between these two. Brownie, a little bit of a snap coming out of turn 3. Does this expose him to the drivers behind? I'm going to keep things parked with Shenjay right now. He's right on the rear of Freeware. These guys need to move quick. Yoda has made a move on ZZ9. He's trying to put some pressure on that Renault. He's come out of turn 4. He's got to come in at the end of this lap to serve a drive-through penalty.
There's a lot of position change
is under threat from Dason here. It's almost 3 wide into turn 8. The Alfa Romeo has a Haas on his inside. The Haas was on the inside of Tim as well. Sorry, excuse me, ZZ9 as well. That's Tim. Tim right now. Oh, this is crazy at the back of this grid. Domi, he's in 13th now. He's just dispatched the Renault. And Renault is not going to be happy about this. The 19-lap-old hard's definitely not the tire to be on, and that is the 2 Renaults out of the points inside of 2 sectors. Meanwhile, up at front, Richie, Valu, Freeware, still your top 3. Brownie still hunting down the Mercedes of Blotel for 5th position in the Williams. Less than half a second is the gap. Shenjay right on his teammate, Freeware.
Yeah, really not a lot ZZ9 could have done there to defend. Meanwhile, Brownie still putting on intense pressure to the Mercedes. Like you said, Shenjay on his teammate. It looks like AlphaTauri, whether this is just a normal overtake or team orders, it is going to be Shenjay looking at the inside of his teammate, although Freeware is definitely defending that place. So the 2 teammates now are costing both of the 2 AlphaTauri's time to Valu ahead, and well, that's not going to make anyone on the pit wall happy. Meanwhile, Vexit on Lil Blotel, he's going to clear the Mercedes, as Brownie just did, and They're still side by side as they come through Sector 2, but it is the Racing Point ahead up into P6 for the time being.
What a restart this has been. Richie, Valu, Freeware, Shenjay now, and Brownie, your top 5. Vexit right behind them. Vexit took a 3-second time penalty just a few moments ago, his first of the session. Yoda, he's in 9th. He has not served that drive for penalty. We're on the final lap of this race. So the big question is, how is that going to come down to play at the end of this one? I think they might just send it to him in the mail or something. Who knows? But he hasn't served it. He's on the last lap. He's in 9th. Dason, Domi is looking at Dason now up the inside out of turn 12. Does he get the move done? Dason defending with everything he's got right now. He does not have a penalty. Domi is going to let him go. Tim's coming now at the Ferrari. This has been wild. Richie is going to cross the line here in Bahrain. He takes the checkered flag. Values behind him. Freeware will collect the podium. Shenjay in 4th position. It's Brownie in 5th. Blotel will collect 6th. Dason in 7th, I do believe, and we will check out the rest of the classification. But what a race finish. What an overall drive. And what a round 2 that was for Tier 1. Of course, we'll have interviews and a raid coming up in just a few moments.
Podium is pretty set in stone. There it is, Ace Richie from start to finish. Very, very strong. But the rest of the pecking order got shuffled up a lot there with the penalties. So just have to wait and see. But not only Valu, but Freeware holding off Shenjay, the 2 teammates. They realised they weren't going to get any higher than 3rd on the podium. So, well, they just had to decide between themselves on track who was going to be up on that top spot, and the German coming out on top. But let's get a look at those final standings. Ace Richie from 1st to 1st picks up all 25 points. Valu picks up P2 from 4th on the grid. Freeware down a couple places into 3rd. His teammate Shenjay just behind him in 4th. So an excellent points haul for both AlphaTauri and McLaren. Brownie picks up 5th from 15th on the grid. He got driver of the day. Little Blotel in 6th. Dason had a good race, 14th to 7th. Tim in 8th. Alex Biddo from 3rd to 9th. Not a really ideal race from him. ZZ9 in 10th, picking up 1 solitary point for the Renault crew. Domi down in 11th. Richie in 12th. Vexit in 13th. Microlander in 14th. Yoda in 15th. Yoda in 16th. And then we've got Brainstew in 17th, the retirements, Sindaku, Bottas Gang, and Lars. And I do believe Brainstew retired in the pit lane in the last couple of laps, but still counts as a result of that. What is it? The 70%, 95% rule or whatever it is. But quick look at the incident reports. I don't think we're going to get through all of them, but there's not too many here as the countdown timer has gone. But you can see here a lot of warnings for exceeding track limits, but not too many penalties given out as a result. But like Striff said, we will have the top 3 in here for interviews in just a moment. So stick around, everyone, as well as the outro and the raid. As always.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the commentary booth. The 3rd place finisher, Freeware. Hello, sir. How was your race?
Up and down, I would say. From the start, I basically passed Ace, then he got me back in turn 2 with the safety car. Well, that eliminated the gap, which he made up actually in the first half lap.
Okay,
then, yeah. After the safety car, basically, I had DRS on him the whole time. Then the VSC came perfectly for me, Valu, and Richie, so we could pit. Basically gained on Biddo, who pitted a lap earlier. But in the pits there was some incident, like Ace's car hold me up for about a second. So Valu ghosted inside me, and we both lost DRS. So we had to fight past all the people who pitted in the first laps. Then basically we just fought through cars who didn't pit. In the end, I was just a bit fighting with Shenjay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, we saw a little bit of fighting between you and Shenjay there. He was on the softs, you were on the hard. Was there any kind of team orders coming to play, or were you and him just going to have some fun? You kind of had a confident look at, you know, where you and him were going to finish. What was the thoughts there? Because it was tight.
Yeah, basically, we said like, yeah, okay, if like he can get me on the safety car restart before turn 1, he can catch down Valu and Ace, but he didn't. And then basically there was only 1 lap left where he couldn't do anything anyways because they both pulled quite a significant gap of about like 1.1 seconds. So we just like basically fought in turn 1 on the last lap, and that was it. We just held to the 3-4, which is a good result for the team, I would say.
AlphaTauri, one of the stronger constructors here in Tier 1 so far this season. Next week, Hanoi, a circuit I know you and Shenjay have a good amount of time on. How is AlphaTauri looking for Tier 1 next week in Hanoi?
Not so promising as today, I would say, but trying to make the best of it. I think Chenji likes the circuit quite a lot, so try to make the best out of it. Probably the same result as today we would be happy with that, I think.
Well, thank you very much, Freeware, for taking the time to interview. Congratulations on the P3 here in Bahrain, and we'll see you next week for Hanoi.
Thank you. See you.
Next up on the podium this evening, Tier 1, Valu. How are you feeling? Congratulations on the second place finish this evening.
Well, quali was bad, but race was quite alright. The safety car and VSC at the first 10 laps bit ruined my strategy. I was going for mediums because I could extend the softs, and then VSC came out, so I have to take advantage or bit over behind of me still.
Yeah, that safety car, the VSC, definitely throwing a little bit of a strategy jumble in it for everybody. Overall, through the race, you had a very, very unique start. You had Freeware, Richie fighting at the beginning. The safety car came out. How was it fighting through the field today overall?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. I was just patient and didn't go for any dives. I just waited usually for main straight or the second straight and just went for it with DRS.
Very, very good. Now, Red Bull took a win last week in Australia. Now you've got another podium back-to-back here in Tier 1. How is Red Bull looking leading through into Hanoi next week?
Yeah, Red Bull is gonna come back to Hanoi and take 1-2.
Okay, you guys heard it here. Thank you so much, Valu. Congratulations on the P2. Thank you for taking the time to interview, and we'll see you next week for Hanoi.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, in Unicorn, I'm going to give you the shout for this one. It is going to be Ace Richie joining us in the commentary booth. Congratulations, Ace.
Yes, boys. Finally, after that last week's, man, this was perfect. Like, it was clean from the start. Managed to get like P1 in the quali by a couple hundreds, and then not a single warning throughout the whole race. That was clean. I like that one.
Yeah, well, it was a very, very well,
and Valu.
very, very well executed drive from you. Down into turn 1, though, straight off of the start, right at the beginning of lap 1, it looked like you were coming under a bit of threat from Freeware, and, well, you managed to hold him off just about through turn 2, but did that sort of make you wonder whether Freeware was going to be a bit more of a threat coming into the whole race, or, you know, what was your thought process as you just started to pull away from him? How did you manage that in that first opening lap?
First opening lap, I was just matching ERS with Freeware basically. He had a better start, but I managed to stick around the outside and, you know, still keep first place. And then I was just trading ERS basically with Freeware. Like, when I pulled a little bit, I saw him pull a little bit back, and so I knew we were about the same percentage. And I don't know if he overtook me then, but I pitted right on a virtual safety car, I think. And yeah, that was the perfect moment. And then just kept it clean throughout the whole race. Went through some traffic. It was really nice race.
Yeah, well, obviously, like you said, that VSC came out at the perfect time, and as well, you just seem to make it through the traffic a little bit easier. Obviously, Freeware and Value were battling each other as well while trying to weed through the traffic. Meanwhile, you just seem to be just carving your way through. Was there any, point at that point in the race where you thought, any doubt in your mind that you had the race, or were you just confident from that point forward and just had to, keep your head down and do what had to be done?
I was timing the traffic with my fuel and ERS, and I overtook them at the right moments. And I saw Value overtook Freeway then, and had a little bit of a strategy call with my teammate, the other Richie. He let me past, and then he tried to, just tried to hold up Yoda a little bit, but they all got past him, unfortunately. But it was still, it gave me enough time to keep Value out of DRS, and I just managed to keep the gap above DRS. And then after the safety car, everybody has 100% no DRS, so I could just keep the gap, just use all of the ERS basically, and drive to the win.
Yeah, well, a very, very confident drive for you this week. Looking forward to next week. Vietnam, Hanoi, a pretty tricky track. What are your thoughts going into that? Are you as confident now with the win under your belt, or what are your thoughts on that track as a whole and going into next week?
Vietnam is an interesting track. It's a massive DRS straight, and I don't know. Well, we'll have to do some more practice, try some setups, and I think I'm pretty confident for next week.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for the interview, Ace Richie, and again, big congratulations on the win. Completely dominant performance, so really nice stuff.
Yes, thank you guys.
Take care. Big congratulations, of course, to Ace Richie on the win here. But that is going to wrap up things this evening for us, Unicorn. What a race. What a race. Guys, of course, big shout out to Next Level Racing. You can find them on their website. They have some amazing simulation racing products, some great racing rigs. Of course, Unicorn and I will be back next week for Tier 2, Tier 1, and some more racing. Unicorn, however, you've got more Bahrain coming this week.
Yeah, we've got APAC on, well, it's for the Asia Pacific division. It's Sunday. For me, it's 10:30 in the morning. But for the rest of the world, let me get up the time, but Sunday morning for those of us in the European time zones. And also on Sunday, F2 will be making its second round as well with Bahrain. 2 races there, the feature race and the sprint race, and Australia was a cracking start to the season over there. So very, very exciting stuff on Sunday. A busy day for Misfits and myself, but yeah, very, very exciting to look forward to, especially with how these races have gone in the tiered divisions so far this week around this track. It's really provided some interesting racing, and well, we've been asking all of the drivers here in the interviews what they think about Vietnam, and well, that's a very different track to Bahrain. It's a very close walled circuit, and I can't imagine we'll see anything less dramatic than what we've seen this week. But yeah,
it's going to be a lot of intensity. It's going to be a ton of intensity. Hanoi, you and I have commentated quite a bit of racing around there. It's always intense, especially that Sector 2 hairpin. Now, with that, we are going to rate a member of the community. We hope you will join us in doing so. It is Tier 3 driver Dirk Chocolate today that we're going to be rating. He has a ton of people watching him, and we would just love it to see that number go over 100. So if you guys could jump into the raid with us, we are going to roll the outro, and we will see you later on this week. We've got both the APAC division and the Formula 2 action coming this Sunday. But that is going to be it for us, guys, and we'll see you then.